Or those of the spot necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Friday, almost said Thursday, Friday episode of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Brought to you, as always, by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They go the extra mile for you, and we try to do the same here on this show and on YSN. Got a great show for you today. Not only are we going to recap all the action from last night and preview the weekend ahead, but we also have an interview to play with you, and you're going to hear from the head coach of the girls team over in Edgewood. I should say up in Edgewood, all the way up in Ashtabula County. 15 wins, a great team, a great turnaround for this program. Who had they ended with 11 wins, but going into the tournament draw, they had 3 wins last year. They actually ended the season really strong, but they only had 2 of those wins inside the conference. So they went from that to now 8 wins inside the conference. A great turnaround for their program. And they have some really special talent down there with Casey Kinnicky, Katie McCollister, McKenna Venzel. And you'll be able to hear from Coach Randy Venzel and about all the players they have and the program that they're able to put together this year and the season they've been having. And that'll be a little bit later on in the show. Can't wait for you guys to hear it. We also have scores from last night, which is how we start every show. So here are your scores and recaps of last night's action. We'll start with, as always, the first score that pops in. It was Lowville getting the win over Sebring last night, 57-20. Want to remind everybody that our ace photographer, Gary Leininger, was in the house for that game. So pictures of Lowville and Sebring can be found on smugmug.com, and they are available for purchase there. Gary does a wonderful job taking pictures for us and keeping our website and graphics looking pristine. So 57-20, Lowville gets the win. That was their 9th win of the year, 9-11. They still have a chance to get to 500 if they win their last 2. And they're looking to do what they did last year in the tournament, which is upset some people and make a run. But they looked good last night, 57-20 once again. Final score there. Wellsville got the win over Lisbon on the road, 47-36. Final score there. A good offensive performance from Wellsville, who, honestly, their offense has struggled at times. So to see them put up 47 is a really good night for the Tigers. They had some balance on offense. So a good win for Wellsville. United ends the EOAC season undefeated, 52-26. They get the win over East Palestine. They're already the EOAC champs. They just wanted to clean it up and make sure that they end that the league stretch with a perfect record, and they do just that. 52-26, the final score there. And now we go into a celebration of the night. It was Badger getting the win over Chalker or Southington, whichever one you want to go with. Either way, it's the Wildcats. Badger wins that one 43-28. This is Badger's first league championship on the girls' side in 38 seasons. A big win for Badger, a win that was 38 years in the making for them. We're going to go over some stats real quick and see who had the best day for the Braves. As we go into Matt Morrison's awesome write-up, which you can find on ysnlive.com. As soon as it loads. Well, that's awkward silence. You never know what'll happen on a live web show. But Badger gets the win 43-28. That was awkward. Thanks for helping me out, internet. And they have their first league championship, like I said, in 38 years. Struthers looked like a very angry basketball team as they were able to beat Niles 51-8. Coming off that loss to Poland, they felt like everything was in front of them. They were hosting Poland, the field house. Poland came in and beat them, and they let out every bit of that frustration on Niles 51-8, the final score there. Poland has clinched at least a share of the NE8 championship with a 36-21 win over Hubbard. To win it outright, they have to win on Monday against Lakeview on senior night. So one win away from an outright NE8 championship, and they've clinched at least a share of it with the win last night. Struthers is obviously hoping that Lakeview can pull off an upset, and they'd have a chance to share just one game back of the Bulldogs with one game to go in the NE8 season. Girard went into South Range, and they got their first program win inside South Range, 44-35, the final score there. I was there, so I can talk about this game a little bit more in depth, but you look at it, it was a very close first quarter. Back and forth. I think it was 10-7 Girard after one. Mia Melito actually hit a three towards the end of that quarter to give them a little lead for Girard. And then the second quarter came around, and this year when the Raiders have struggled, they've had a couple of stretches during a game where their offense kind of goes dormant and it goes dark, and teams take advantage of that. And that's what happened in the second quarter. The Raiders just couldn't get a flow on offense going in that second frame. Girard absolutely did. They outscored the Raiders 20-6 in that second quarter to go up 30-13 at halftime, 17-point lead in the locker room. Now the Raiders came out. They came out in the second half. They fought their tails off to try to get back into this game. They got as close as I believe 6 once, but 17 at halftime against a good Girard team was just way too much to overcome. And when I was looking at the game and watching it unfold with Scotty, by the way, props to Scotty Mincher having his first high school game with two teams that actually counted for a record in standings. He did the All-Star game last year. He did a great job there, but this was his first time getting on the call for a high school basketball game. He did a great job. Cannot send him enough praise. Love to have him on the games, and can't wait to get him on the mic with me again at a game as well. But you'll see him next Wednesday in the studio. Scotty does a great job. But back to the game. Watching it with Scotty, we both pointed out, you just felt like, especially in that second quarter, the effort level was tilted towards Girard's side of the basketball. They were going after 50-50 balls. They were winning the rebound battle by a big margin. They just won. I hate this cliche in sports because it makes it sound like one team didn't even want to win, which is not true at all. But they won it more, I guess you should say. I don't know a better way to put it. Gerard just looked like they had more invested in the game. They had more reasons to win it, and especially in that second quarter, like I said, when they were just diving after balls, they were getting all the rebounds. They don't have a big size advantage over South Range. Ezra Dede does have a bit of size advantage, but you look at everywhere else on the floor, pretty equal size-wise. So rebounding comes down to strictly effort and who's going to put their body on the line, who's going to be a proper box out. And it was Girard in that second quarter. A lot of their points came from offensive rebounds and putbacks. When you look at those point totals, by the way, CH the triplet led them with 13. And Mia Melito had a great night as well. She had, I believe, 9. Allison Durkin with 9. They had a balanced offense. All three of their big scorers scored well. Abby Rafferty was in double figures as well for Girard with 10. So you look at Girard's scoring, they had 4 players with at least 7 points. That's always a good plus. South Range on the other end, they got a lot from Sydney Pennick, and they've been trying to get her going for the last couple weeks. They got led by her with 12. But Emma Cunningham was shut out in the first half, scored 7 in the second. Finally got an offensive rhythm going, got her some space. But that's comes down to consistency, right? Like, can you get your superstars playing well the whole game? Can you get them space and get them a rhythm from the jump instead of waiting until the second half? Taylor McClish had a good game as well. The Raider players that you expect to have really good games did. Manny Dado actually had a pretty good game with 5 points, and so did Devin Sauerwein. You need a little bit more, and they needed to not wait until the third quarter to find that wake up call. Unfortunately, 17 points, just way too much to come back from. If they survived that second quarter, and I say survive, like if they would have um, maybe been down by 10 or 13, I feel like they would have come back in that game the way they played in the second half. 17 was just I think too much of a mountain to climb. Girard was taking care of the ball pretty well. They were having multiple possessions that lasted 30 to 30 seconds to a minute long. The Raiders, in my opinion, after seeing that, probably waited a little bit too long to start fouling, but Girard was shooting so well from the free throw line that was a tough decision to decide whether or not you were going to trust your defense to go out there and force a turnover, or you're going to put Gerard on the line, who is shooting really well from the free throw line, and giving them the chance to just ice it at the line. Going into the fourth quarter, Gerard was 11 for 15 from the line. They missed a couple in the fourth quarter, but they definitely hit enough to win the game with that kind of lead that they had. So it was definitely a tough decision to either play defense and try to force a turnover and keep going with that, or eventually foul the Indians and put them at the line. Coach Fishel elected to let them, run out of possession for a minute long and try to force a turnover, but it didn't go their way. They got enough turnovers to get back in the game, but just not enough turnovers to come back and win it. Obviously, Gerard got the 9-point victory, 44-35, the final, and like I said before, that it was the first win for Gerard over South Range in South Range as members of the NE8. And earlier this year, Gerard got their first win over South Range at all. So coming into this year, they hadn't beaten South Range as members of the NE8 at all, and they've now beaten them twice with the win last night in the Thriller Dome. Pymatuning Valley, a very good girls basketball team, kind of under the radar. They had a big night against Wyndham, 65-47. They look forward to that tournament run coming up. They look like they're building a lot of momentum. Waterloo got the win over Middle Ridge, and this was a pretty good Middle Ridge team. They got the upset over Western Reserve a couple weeks ago. I mean, no slouch. So Waterloo playing one of the best games of their season to really put them down and beat them like they did. 62-35, a big offensive performance from a Waterloo team that had been a little inconsistent on the offensive side of the ball this year. So to see them go and score 62 against Middle Ridge, a very good night for the Vikings. And then the most competitive game of the day was the one you wanted it to be, right? It was a battle for first place in the MVAC grade tier, Crestview versus Garfield. Winner would take sole possession of first place in the grade tier. It was in Garfield. Garfield got the win in Crestview earlier in the season. And this one was close the whole way. Like, there was no moment where you thought this team has control or this team has control. I think the biggest lead in the game was actually the end of the final score, which went into overtime, 58-52. I don't think either team got more than 6 points ahead of the other. You look at the stats from that game, and you realize that the Stars really align. Addison Rhodes played an amazing game for Crestview, got them out of a lot of bad situations. But Laura McCoy was not to be denied for Garfield either. She played a great game. It was just a great basketball game between two really good teams. That's what you expect out of a matchup that's has first place on the line. You want two really good basketball teams that are playing really clean basketball to go at it, and that's exactly what we got out of that game. We're going to go and grab some stats from this one real quick as soon as I pull them up. Just a second. So you look at it. Actually, I don't have the final stats. I just have halftime stats. But like I said, Addison Rhodes had a great game for Crestview, and then they had a couple other freshmen step up down the stretch. And then in overtime, Ava Busey had big 2 free throws that iced the game. And Crestview's youth did not show up in this game. It was looking like a veteran team going into Garfield, who is really the more experienced team as far as senior leadership. Didn't look like it. Looked like Crestview was just as veteran as Garfield. I don't think people realize how much it takes to go on the road in a game that means that much and win a game that was that close the whole time. I mean, when a game is that close, that means every mistake you make is put under a magnifying glass, and every little play you make means that much more. For a young team like Crestview to go into that environment on the road, play a close game the whole way, and to never flinch, it's got to be super, super impressive for Coach Blatt and a super momentum boost for them heading into the tournament. Because if they can do that, which Garfield is a 2 seed, remember, in the upcoming Division III tournament, and the 1 seed is Laurel. No one's beating Laurel out of Division III in the district. But luckily for Crestview, they don't have to do that. They took the other bracket. So knowing that they can do that to Garfield, that they feel like they can beat anybody in that bracket. So it's gonna be a fun tournament for Crestview coming up in the ranks. And I think last night is one of those nights that if they do make a deep tournament, if they do make a deep tournament run, Crestvew's gonna look back on that game against Garfield and say this was one of the turning points of our season. One of the reasons why we were able to, believe in ourselves and have confidence into the tournament that we can beat anybody, because we went into Garfield and we beat him in overtime in a game that was never ever once not close. And we didn't make the game-ending mistake. We didn't let the moment face us. We were tough. We were physical. We outplayed Garfield in Garfield in a close game. There's nothing that could give you more confidence than that. Like I said, especially because Garfield's a 2 seed. So you feel like you go to the 2 seed's house, you beat them. You're gonna walk into that tournament with your chest puffed out. Hopefully not too much, because you don't want to be taken down to earth, but you're gonna have a little bit of swag heading into that district tournament. They just beat the 2 seed on the road. Like, let's go. And Crestview has had tournament success the last 5 or 6 years. They've been into the district championship game. They've had district wins, and they're hoping that they can do that again this year. They'll be in the Struthers district. And they'll have a couple of teams they'll be vying for him, because when Laurel is one, everyone else is just going to go away from Laurel if they can. So there's a lot of tough teams and a lot of really good basketball in that district. But Crestview's gonna do everything they can, and with player like Addison Rhodes, oh my gosh, do they always have a chance? Watching last night, one of the things I was thinking about was, remember, she's just a freshman, and imagine how good she's going to be by her senior year. Like, she might just be, and this is just obviously speculatory because you never know how a kid's career is going to go and how much they'll traject from their freshman year. Unfortunately, we've seen a handful of freshmen look really good their freshman year, and then this kind of plateau, and that happens. They're kids, they're teenagers. But if this trajectory keeps going, then Addison Rhodes' senior year, I'm telling you, like, best player in Division III across the region. Like, that I would be confident saying that. Like, I see it. I can see the pieces there. I can see the tools to make it happen. She's already one of the best freshmen in the area, period. And she played against another really good freshman, by the way, last night in Mandy Cardinal, sorry. But played against another really good freshman. Those are two players on those two rosters that have made tremendous immediate impacts on their team right out of middle school, which I feel like we're kind of numb to how hard that is, because we've seen it happen, a handful of times in the last couple of years on the basketball side. But I could have coaches argue this, and of course there's football in there, and football is a big jump from, if you go from middle school to varsity. Of course, that's probably the biggest. I would probably say the physical jump from junior high football to varsity football, maybe the biggest. But basketball, the speed of the game and the quickness that you have to make these decisions, and um, the physicality of the game, just the jump from middle school to varsity is significant in basketball, for sure. So to see freshmen in the last couple of years come right into the team, right into the program after 8th grade, and just immediately make a big impact, it's really impressive. And I think we don't talk about the junior high coaches enough. It's a testament to the coaches that are in these junior high programs, getting them ready for this varsity level, being in sync with the varsity coach. So one of the things that when I was a middle school coach for 1 year, Coach Wayne Johnson was the coach at South Range at the time. And one of his, focus points when he had us, coaching the middle school was just I was in 8th grade, especially for 8th grade, let them learn the system that we're gonna play. That way they're used to our signals, they're used to what we call these plays. Like, we called the same plays and the same defenses that they were going to run in the varsity level. I think that's super important to be in sync with your varsity coach like that as a middle school program. And you see more and more staffs not just neglect the middle school anymore. And because of that, they're seeing freshmen be able to come on and make immediate impacts. I think another big reason why is these kids are starting to understand at the middle school level that even though they're kind of a big fish in a small pond in 8th grade, a lot of kids dominate 8th grade because they're just bigger, they're faster. They're quickly grasping the concept that that's not going to happen immediately in the varsity level. You don't just go from you playing, everyone's your age in 8th grade to now you're on varsity, you're playing seniors on varsity squads. It's not going to be as easy. And I think we see a lot more kids not be intimidated by that or deterred by that mindset and deterred by that uptick in competition. So I applaud the freshman. Freshman of the year this year is going to be tough. Addison Rhodes is definitely, though, in the conversation. I'll tell you that much. She's going to be an amazing player down the road. She's already an amazing player, but I see the pieces of like something really, really special. Like I said, I have no problem seeing her be like D3 best player in the Northeast region. All Ohio, that kind of thing. No problem seeing that in her future at all. I see the pieces there. You can tell when a basketball player has it, and she has it. So very fun times in Crestview right now for sure. We are going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to have that interview we talked about with Randy Venzel, the head coach of the Edgewood Warriors girls basketball team. When we come back on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
As fine as the eye can see, the finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They go the extra mile for you, and we always try to do the same here on the show and at YSN. We thank them for their constant support of everything that we do here on the network. Without further ado, we are going to go into our interview that we have for you today in the can, and it is going to be Randy Venzel, the head coach of the Edgewood Warriors girls basketball team. 15 wins so far in the season. They have 3 more non-conference games to close out their season before they go on to tournament play, as they'll go into Ashtabula County and play a couple of rivals, including the season finale against Jefferson, which should be a good way to close the season for Edgewood. So here is the head coach of the Edgewood Warriors girls basketball team, Randy Venzel. Enjoy the interview. Anthony Hartwig here with episode 1 of Edgewood Girls Basketball Coach's Corner. I'm joined by Randy Venzel. Randy, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Appreciate you for having me, Anthony.
All right, with episode 1 of Coach's Corners, we always like to start by letting the coach introduce us to their team and their roster, and what players have obviously made a really big impact on you so far this season. So go through your roster and introduce us to the team.
I'd start with Casey Kanicki. She's a 4th-year player for us. She makes our team go. She's a team leader, has been since her freshman year. Then I go with Katie McAllister. She's our point guard. She's kind of our Energizer bunny. She's just got a motor that goes and goes and goes. And then McKenna Venzel. She's a helpful guard that anticipates on defense and is always getting after it. And then we have Johanna Anik. She's our inside presence, but also likes to handle the ball and can shoot it. And rounding out our starting 5 is Tori Skarupa, who's also a senior, 4th-year girl, who just gives us quality minutes on defense, rebounding, and she's a coach on the floor. Just knows everything we're trying to do. And then I would say off the bench, we have Avery Venzel, who helps with ball handling and is also an inside presence. And then freshman phenom, Annie Mae Johnston, also ball handler, scorer, gets after it on D. Then we have Brianna Melaragno, also a 4th-year girl, who just gives us energy points off the bench. Defensively, isn't afraid to go after the other team's best player. And Giovanna Victor, she would round out kind of our 9 that really gets some playing time. Also a senior, one of the best shooters we have, and just helps us with scoring when she gets in there.
You started with Casey Kanicki, and we have to start with our talk about that because obviously one of the generational type players that you don't get very often as a coach, became the program's all-time leading scorer a little bit earlier last Saturday. What's it meant to you, and what's it meant to this team to have a player like that kind of step on the floor and not just be a statistical leader, but an emotional and an energetic leader as well?
It's meant everything, to be honest. When Casey first came to us, everybody said, "Oh, this Kanicki girl," when she was probably 6th grade, like, she's going to be your next good one. And I remember going to watch her in 7th and 8th grade, and I'm like, yeah, this girl's, she's a good basketball player, but I'm like, nothing major that I see in her. And then by her freshman year, I was wrong. Let's just say I was wrong in my talented evaluation of her and what she brings and what she's brought to our program. She's really been everything. Just a kid that works hard every day in practice. When your best player is working hard, it's easy to get the other ones to join along. She's never been an issue as far as a selfish player or a me type player. It's always been about the team. And I think that's just the fruit of what she's bearing now. Obviously being the school's all-time leading scorer as a female, hopefully going to get the total record for men, women, whoever, boys, girls, children. Yeah, she's meant everything. Like I said, she's a leader on the court. She does it all. She rebounds, handles, scores it. Obviously, I can't say enough good things about her.
I got to see you guys play live last week. One of the things that I saw in her game is she balances the unselfishness, being able to distribute the ball, but then when it's takeover time, like she knows how to just say, we need to score, and I'm going to go score. How much have you seen that develop in her game over her 4 years of high school, being able to balance both those aspects of basketball?
I think she's always been a scorer. She's always had that in her game. And we've always, since her freshman year, it's kind of like the girls have always deflected to her, look to Casey, get it to Casey and get out of the way. That's kind of been the thing. But luckily, end of last year into this year, she's actually had some help. And she's got some help around her with scoring, where she can defer now. And, she used to have to take it all on her shoulders. But now she knows that she has teammates that can help her, and she's done a great job at sharing the ball and looking to them to help, when she's tired or not feeling it on that game or whatever. She knows that she has girls around her now that'll help her out. So it's been great. It's been great for our team and great for her too. So I know she's happy about that.
Was there a point when you realized, okay, we might have something really special here in the sense of, okay, she can break records, she can become the program's leading scorer, things like that?
Yeah, towards the end of last year, I really started looking at her numbers and seeing where she was, and I'm like, yeah, she's definitely going to get this, barring any setbacks or, injuries or COVID hits us again, or who knows what that could be. But yeah, it was towards the end of last year. And to be honest, we've done nothing special. It wasn't like, hey, let's get Casey to this mark or get Casey to this mark. Everything she's done has been just through our program and what we run and our offense. And it has been nothing special directed, towards Casey. So I think that's another tribute to her and just getting her points through our offense and the things we like to do.
So she averages about 20 points per. The next leading scorer for you is McCollister, Katie McCollister. You talked about her a little bit with your roster breakdown, but talk about her a little bit more. And like you said, giving that help to Casey and making sure that you have another scorer on the floor that can be deferred to when defense is locked down on Kanicki.
Yeah. Last year was Katie's first year with the team. She was actually a girl that came into us from Louisiana, ended up moving here with her dad. And last year, I would say she was just a handler, handled the offense great on defense. She'll guard the other team's best player. But she played some AAU in between the seasons and really worked hard over the summer on her scoring and her shot and has really came on lately, especially knowing that, going into tournaments, going into these last few games, like we need her to score. And she's taken that and she's really ran with it. And thankfully for us, she's scoring the ball great. Definitely a great 1-2 punch we have going right now for sure.
Every coaching staff goes into the summer and into the preseason with expectations of what the season will hold and expectations of what his roster will be able to do. Now that we're almost at the end of the regular season, how does where you guys are now match up with kind of what you expected out of the season when you were coming into it in the summer?
I definitely expected us to have a great year. I don't know if I expected it to be as good as we're having, to be honest. We set goals. We probably set 4 or 5 team goals to start the season. And we're at most of them. We didn't get the conference championship, which was one of our goals for sure. But two tough losses to Perry. But definitely with that comes growth and winning. At least the girls know now that we can compete with Perry, which has not been the case in previous years. So it's just a testament of their hard work over the summer and how far the girls have came. And we're definitely peaking in the right direction, and everything's going in the right direction. But I would say we've exceeded my expectations for this season for sure.
All right, now we look into tournament time because the seedings just came out today and the brackets will be out tomorrow. You guys are the 6th seed in this Division 2 district, and it's a district that is just lined with really, really good talent. Some of it down here in our neck of the woods, some of it up by you guys. What are some of your thoughts when you look at the teams that line up in your district, and obviously when the bracket comes out tomorrow and you'll see what your road is to a district championship?
I'd say one word to describe it would be loaded. I mean, there's some teams, man. I'd say anywhere from 1 to 20. I think teams can compete. The top tier teams, I think they're top tier teams, no doubt, and they deserve their top seeds. So they may be a step above everyone. Not to diminish any other teams, but I think even, I don't know, if you go 5 through 20 or anyone, honestly, on any given night, I feel could beat any of the other teams. I mean, it's that balanced, and there's that many good teams. I mean, there's 7 and 10 teams that I think would come in and play us, and they may beat us by 20 on any given night, or there's a night that we go play the 7 and 10 team and we could beat them. So it should be interesting after tomorrow's bracket results and see where everybody lines up, and then everybody does their homework on each team. But I mean, to tell you, I changed my voting like 8 different times. I think I'd have it, and then I'd see something and I'd be like, oh no. So I never want to upset any coaches about where I put them or anything like that. And you try to do the homework as best as you can. But eventually you just kind of say, this is what I'm going with. And that's what I ended with. But yeah, it was good to see us at the 6th seed. I think we could have been anywhere from 6 to 15 and I would have been happy because, like I said, all the teams are equal, and I think any of them could beat any of them on any given night. So
it's always interesting. These brackets come out and there's still regular season games to be played. And I'm sure there are still regular season goals that you guys have in front of you that you want to really finish the regular season strong on. How do you guys balance, knowing the tournament, knowing the bracket, knowing what that looks like, but also just focusing on the team that's in front of you that night and not worrying about the tournament until it is tournament time?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're working towards tournament all year, just with your goals and the things you do throughout the season. So I think that gets you ready for tournaments. But we always just go next game mentality. So we play Geneva Wednesday, so that's what we're prepping for. That's what we'll be prepping for the Monday and Tuesday, game planning for them and doing the things we do all season long. So we really don't look past the next game. Obviously, your schedule, so you know who you play and finish up the season goals. And always, your goal going in the tournament is to be ready. And, I'm always looking and scouting 2 games ahead. So, I just kind of get a feel of what the teams do until that team comes up. And then I really look into, how we want to attack and how we feel they're going to attack us. But yeah, so I'd say it's a next game mentality is how we attack it.
How excited are you for tournament time? I mean, this is a really good season you guys are putting together, and you guys do have an opportunity to make it something really special with a tournament run. 14 wins so far. I mean, when that seed comes out, brackets come out, and then tournament time becomes kind of a reality. I mean, does it get kind of your competitive blood flowing?
Yeah, honestly, the last couple years, we haven't been real competitive. So tournament for us was kind of, we were a lower seed and we knew we were going to play the top tier teams. So it was kind of a rough go, to be honest. Last year, I think we only had 3 wins going into the tournament. But by tournament time, I think we were up to 8 or 9 wins. It seemed like it was really early last year that we did the voting, but So we had a lower seed, and we had a tough West Branch team. We ended up getting a bye in the first round, so we played West Branch in the second round, and obviously that was a rough go for us. But we're looking forward to this season. We think we definitely can compete, and hopefully make some waves in the tournament.
And if things work out, you might get a couple of home games. I mean, what's that going to mean? Especially, I came down to Edgewood, saw that community that you guys had on a Saturday afternoon. Now I know it was Perry, I know it was a big game, but you drew a huge crowd for that game. What's it going to mean to you guys to get a home tournament game and be able to celebrate that with your community?
Oh, I think that's everything. I think it's going to be more comfortable for the girls if we do get a home game. Things that they're familiar with. Those are the little things that can help you in a tournament, that home field advantage. I know in football, they usually say it gives you, at least a field goal, maybe even a touchdown on some games. I feel the same way in basketball. It's definitely worth a couple baskets. And if you can get the people out to support the team, Perry was a great showing for us. We're a smaller community. So hopefully, yeah, I definitely think it's an advantage.
All right, Coach, before we let you go, I want to give you the chance to also recognize and introduce us to your staff, because we know as much as the head coaches get their interviews and their limelight, you can't do it without the people behind you. So I want to give you the chance to give them some love and the people that have helped you along this journey in Edgewood.
Oh, no doubt. I'd say it would start with my junior high coaches, Larry Mazzacco and Jason Aponte. Jason puts hours and hours in with the younger girls, trying to get them prepared for me. That way we're not working on basic fundamentals when they get to me. They already know all the things. He knows what I want to do, and he does great with the girls all summer long with open gyms, and he really puts the time in. Him and Larry at the junior high level. Can't thank them enough. And then my daughter, Jordan, she's my JV coach, and same thing. She works tirelessly. She really focuses on the girls. And at the end of the day, we're trying to make great young ladies out of them beyond basketball. Basketball winning is great, but if they're not winning at life, then we're not doing the right things. So, that's our focus. And my brother Roman, he's my right-hand man. So those are my people that when we go into games and I can bounce ideas off and they see different things. And I can't thank them enough for all their work. And it's paid off this year. So I appreciate them. I appreciate you. Let me shout them out.
It's Vincels everywhere in this Edgewood program. You got players, you got coaches.
Somehow we're still winning. I don't know how that works.
It's a family affair. We love it. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and introducing us to your team. We've loved covering them all year. Welcome to the Ysn family for the first basketball season. We've loved having you, and we can't wait to talk to you real soon. Good luck the rest of the way.
I appreciate it, Anthony. Thanks for all you do for the kids. We appreciate that.
Randy Vinsel from Edgewood, and man, I love that the last question, about introducing his staff, he goes into the middle school staff. It was like perfect timing, because I went on this tangent before that interview about how how important middle school staffs are and being in sync with your middle school staff and them knowing exactly what you want to do as a varsity coach, so they can start to instill that in the junior high level, how important that is to a freshman's ability to come in and have an immediate impact. And then Coach Vinsel talks about how his middle school staff is so in sync with what he wants to do at the varsity level. Sometimes the universe works out like that, where it's just like Anthony was talking about one thing, and then we'll just have a coach talk about the same thing. Who knew? That was awesome. The other thing about Coach Vinsel and what I liked about the interview before we hit the bricks is just the family affair. And I made light of it. We were joking about it at the end there, but how many Vinsels are in this program? It is even Zach Vinsel on the boys side, who, by the way, a couple of weeks ago scored 45 in a game. I mean, that's ridiculous. he's doing a great job on the boys side. And then you have Randy Vinsel, the head coach. You have daughters on the team. You have daughters on the coaching staff. I mean, it's a Vinsel affair. You have a brother on the coaching staff. It is a absolute just family circle in Edgewood with the Vinsel family. So we're proud to cover him. We're proud to cover him, his coaching staff, his players, the boys side as well. Edgewood is been very fun to be a part of the YSN family over the last we signed them during football season when we got 4-4 goals. So can't wait to see what they have in the spring. I can't wait to see what they have here to finish out the winter sports season. Edgewood girls are the 6th seed in the D2 district. They'll be in the district with Canfield and Salem. Their first game, they have a first round game, which is against a very high seed, and then they'll go and they'll play the winner of West Branch in another team that it's a little bit lopsided the ways the seeds go. So if things go the way you think, it should be a rematch of last year's tournament game, Edgewood versus West Branch. This year, though, it would be in Edgewood instead of being in West Branch. Edgewood being the 6th, West Branch being the 11th. So that would be a very interesting matchup there if that came about. Flip the other way, and then going down to Ashtabula County would be the Warriors. And actually, Coach Vinsel talked about playing West Branch. So that's another interesting little tidbit from that interview carrying over into our show. Now, we do have games on the network tonight and over the weekend. I want to get to them before we get out of here. We are Friday, February 3rd. That is 2/3/23. Oh, man, if Michael Jordan ever had a day, it was definitely today, right? And we'll go into first game of the night. It's going to be a 6:30 tip. Beechwood will be at Orange. The school broadcast team has you covered there. Matt Morrison will make the trip with Badger as they try to get revenge on Pymatuning Valley, who beat them in a close one the first time around in Badger. Hubbard will go to Girard tonight, and David Williams making the trip with the Eagles to have you covered there in Girard. Jefferson will be at Niles. You know Brian on the call there. And while we're talking about these two teams, Jefferson and Girard playing in those back-to-back games I just mentioned, remember, Jefferson, South Range, Girard all now tied with 3 losses at the top of the NE8. So something's got to give, right? Jefferson will play South Range one more time, but they're both done playing Girard, so they can't knock Girard down a peg. So you got to think that it's lining up to be a two-way tie, maybe if one of those teams, whether it be Jefferson or South Range, takes care of business, and then obviously someone's got to beat somebody. But Girard still controls their own destiny in the sense that if they win out, they'll have a piece of that NE8, and then the other two teams with Jefferson and South Range trying to join them and not slip up the rest of the way either. Niles is a tough team. So is Hubbard. Hubbard beat Jefferson. So you can't sleep on either one of those matchups tonight in the NE8. How many games inside that conference this year have been close? I mean, it hasn't just been the matchups with the teams at the top. It's been matchups with teams in the middle, teams with the bottom. It's been a very closely contested, parity-filled NE8 basketball season. We go on to some more matchups, though. LeBray goes to Liberty tonight. Alec Caberna will be on the call. 7 o'clock is your tip time there. Latonia will be at Columbiana tonight. And that will be Joe Eusebio on the call at 7 o'clock. Lowville goes to Sebring. Eric Hughes on the call there. Mogador goes to Warren JFK. Dom O'Brien has you covered in Warren. We have Springfield going to Jackson Milton. It'll be Noah Doty making the trip with the Tigers to call that one. Poland will go into South Range. It is senior night in the Thriller Dome. I will be there for that 7 o'clock tip. They'll also have little dribblers at halftime. So if you're going down there and you want to see the future of South Range basketball, make sure to get your snacks before halftime if you're in the Thriller Dome so you can watch them at the break. Struthers will be at Lakeview, and Sam, our Lakeview buddy, Lakeview guy, he's done a great job all season. He'll have you covered as the Wildcats come to town. United will be at East Palestine. Tim Figley on the call for you there on the EOAC side of things. Ursuline and Howland, that'll be a good one. Noah Ricks will be on the call. Ursuline continues to just put together a really tough schedule, not shying away from anybody. Wellsville will try to stay in first place in the EOAC as they go to Lisbon, and it'll be Rick Daly on the call for you there. 7 o'clock tip on that one. Youngstown East goes to Cheney. 7 o'clock tip off there. Jamie Thompson will have you covered on that call. West Branch and Salem, the rivalry. That'll be at 7 o'clock in Salem. Michael Janaki traveling to the Quaker Dome to have a call there. Boardman goes to Canfield. Larry Scragg will have, I believe, his first trip to the Cardinals' nest in Canfield at 7 o'clock. He is obviously covering Richie Giuliano, who is on the trip with DJ and Sam Torres and Ty Bartell down into Las Vegas, Nevada this weekend to call some NFL flag football games. So Canfield will be covered even with Richie on the road as Larry Scragg steps up and he'll have Boardman versus Canfield. Last game on the network tonight, it'll be Hoover going to Louisville. Bob Burrick and his crew will have the call there. Some games that are still going on tonight that aren't on the network, unfortunately. Crestview will be at Campbell. Western Reserve goes to McDonald at 7. Edgewood travels to Ashtabula Lakeside. Garfield goes to Newton Falls. That'll be in Lawrencetown, by the way. Middle Ridge will be at Waterloo tonight. Southern will be at Valley Christian. We'll have Oak Glen at Beaver Local. And then Warren Harding travels to Fitch. On the girls basketball side, don't forget that the Warren JFK game is a girls-boys doubleheader. JFK will play Mogador at 5:30 on the girls' side before the boys play Mogador on the boys' side at 7. So it's a boys-girls doubleheader tonight in JFK. Girls tip off at 5:30. Boys will go about 20 minutes after that. We have to go into Saturday because obviously we won't be back until Monday. So let's look at what Saturday's action entails. We'll go into the girls first. At 11 a.m., bright and early, Western Reserve travels to United. Chris Sigler will be on the call for you there. Springfield going to travel to West Branch. This should be a good one. It's going to be senior, I guess you would call it senior day for West Branch, not senior night. But it'll be at 1:30 as a tip-off, and West Branch will honor their seniors as they try to beat a very good Springfield team out of Division 4. Salem will go to Austintown Fitch tonight. Matt Morrison on Saturday night, I should say. This is once again girls at 2:30. Matt Morrison will be on the call. Got to keep an eye on this one because Zeta Creaky is 3 points away from 1,000 career points at Fitch. Holy War at 2:30. Ursuline will take on Cardinal Mooney. I will be in Mooney for that one. 2:30, Warren Harding will travel to Boardman. Noah Ricks will have the call for you there. And then at 7 o'clock on the girls' side, Noah Ricks will be traveling to Canfield as Howland comes to town. So Noah Ricks doing a double duty as he'll have Boardman at 2:30, Canfield and Howland at 7. Heartland Christian will also travel to Valley Christian, and Youngstown East will be at Cheney. Those games at 2 and 2:30 respectively. We go into the boys' side, Canfield at Fitch. Matt Morrison will stay at Fitch to call that one at 7. Sharon will be at Cardinal Mooney, and Alec Caberna will have the call for you there. Warren JFK will travel to Archbishop Hoban at 2:30. Tom O'Brien making the trip up to Akron to have that one covered. East Liverpool will be at Alliance at 7 o'clock, and it'll be Nate Kelly and Rick Kelly on the call there. And then I will go back to the Thriller Dome after my game at Mooney, and South Range hosting Springfield at 7 o'clock there as well. Don't also forget that over the weekend, as I said, Richie, DJ, Ty, Sam, they're all down in Vegas. They will have youth flag football, the NFL flag football, on covered all throughout the weekend with a partnership with Game Changer. Can't wait to see what that holds. That'll be Saturday and Sunday as they broadcast games there. And then, of course, Pro Bowl. They'll be able to sneak into the Pro Bowl a little bit and see what that has in store as Mr. Peyton Manning and Eli Manning coach the AFC and NFC. Had a chance to watch the skills competitions last night, and that was a fun watch for sure. ESPN's bringing their personalities that they can do a good job at commenting the fun, kind of skills competition things. It was a fun time. I think the funniest part of the night, real quick, I mean, I know we don't do a lot of national sports, but Derek Carr's post-interview after his precision passing, was just like it had me floored when he said, no, Ryan Clark's interviewing him and he goes, man, I don't think you've ever been that hot in Las Vegas. And Derek Carr, like without missing a beat, goes, I guess not. That's why I'm going somewhere else. It was just boom. Savage. I loved it. And it's gonna be a fun weekend down in Vegas for the boys. DJ Ritchie, Sam and Ty all down there. We'll keep you covered up here. But big spot for YSN, big moment for YSN, brick by brick. We continue to build and we will be in Vegas covering flag football over the weekend. And gonna have a great time. A lot of stories probably on the Power Hour on Tuesday when they get back from Vegas, I'm sure. They won't be back on Monday, so no Power Hour on Monday, no Power Hour today, but they'll be back in time for Power Hour on Tuesday, and I'm sure they'll have a bunch of stories to tell from their trip over the weekend, and we're proud of not just DJ, but Richie and Sam and Ty for making this trip, and they're all hands in the pile kind of dudes that are just going down there for whatever it takes to make YSN great. So good luck to them. Hope everybody's safe getting down there. I believe they left early this morning. So, but I know it was like the layover, so it was going to take them about 7 hours to get there. So I don't know if they're there yet. Have no idea. I'm not tracking their plane. Sorry, I'm not that invested. I'm not sitting on the app tracking their plane. But hopefully they're down there, or if they're not down there yet, they're having some safe travels, and then they have a lot of fun. So from me and everyone at YSN, to the boys down there in Vegas, awesome job. Put YSN on your back this weekend, and let's go get it done. As for me, that'll do it for Running Point from 1 to 2. We'll be back on Monday to recap the whole weekend. I can tell you that we will have an interview for sure. A couple of interviews in the can that we'll get over the weekend. One for sure that we have, like it's locked in. We already have it. Riley Hutton from Salem will be featured next week. Hopefully we're going to get Maddie Kibler. We've been trying to get her scheduled. So Maddie Kibler from United should be on the show next week as well. Those are a couple of players that I can say we have, almost locked down, and Riley Hutton's been interviewed. So that one's already ready to go. She'll be featured next week as well. So going to be a good week of basketball next week. It'll be the last week of the regular season for the girls. Also, don't forget on Monday, we'll have tournament seeding and tournament brackets for the boys side of basketball. They're just 1 week behind the girls. So this weekend, we'll see the boys come out with their seeding and their brackets. So we'll be able to kind of quickly go over that and tell you where each team lands in their respective district on Monday as well from 1 to 2. So for Friday, that does it. Anthony Hartwig signing off. Thank you so much for tuning in today to Running Point, brought to you by